Hello, everyone. My name is Alan Dick, and on behalf of my fellow CommerceNext co-founders, Scott Silverman and Veronica Sontsev, I want to welcome you to today's webinar. Today is Wednesday, November 4th, 2020, and our topic this week is Post-Holiday Battle Plan, Growth Strategies for 2021 and Beyond. Before we go any further, I'd like to welcome and thank today's speakers. We have David Bolotsky, CEO and founder of Uncommon Goods, Rebecca Traverzo, VP of Marketing at ThirdLove, Bill Bass, he's a CMO at FULLBEAUTY Brands, and Meghan Stabler, the VP of Product Marketing at BigCommerce. Thank you guys for joining us today. We're looking forward to the discussion. I also want to thank our webinar sponsor, BigCommerce. Thank you guys for making this possible. We appreciate it. We also have our gifting partner, Gift Now, from our friends over at Loop Commerce. Those guys are going to give each of our speakers a gift, as well as 5 of our lucky live attendees, which we'll draw at the end of the webinar today. Sorry, replay listeners, you gotta be live to get them. And finally, we want to thank everyone who's joining us today. Really appreciate you guys supporting us and being here with us today. Here's the agenda. We're going to talk about some upcoming events and some improvements to our website. Got some housekeeping notes to make certain that you're getting the most out of this webinar. BigCommerce has a brief presentation on where they see 2021 retail investing going. We have a couple of audience polls. And then we're going to spend the bulk of our time having a panel discussion and taking your questions. So first off, next week, our next webinar is 2021, The Rise of Content Marketing. I want to make it clear that this is on a new date. It will be Thursday next week, not Wednesday. It'll be November 12th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We have the one and only, you know him, you love him, you can't live without him, Scott Silverman. He's our very own. He's going to be leading a dynamite panel with Mara Smith, Kelly Coleman, Nina Ali, and Adriana Fudala. So that's going to be something to see. That's going to be a great one. Also wanted to show that we've got some great, we've made some improvements on our homepage. We've definitely seen a rise in traffic with it and more utilization, which is good to see. We have an upcoming events page that you can check out. That's going to be where all of our upcoming events are going, plus some of the older ones and some of the replays. So if you're looking for some content from us, that's a great place to go. Now some housekeeping notes. We don't want you worrying about missing anything. We're recording this webinar and we'll make it live tomorrow for you. If you've registered for it, you'll get a notification, so no worries there. And let me take a moment to show you where things are on your screen so you get the most out of this webinar. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see 3 icons there, or 3 notes there. It's Q&A, polls, and handouts. That's where they're going to be. If you've got a question, we'd love to hear from you. There's nothing better than having a webinar with the audience participating and asking our speakers questions. That way we're addressing what you want to hear. If you want to ask a question, you just put it into the Ask a Question box below under the Q&A tab. If you see somebody else's question that you really dig, upvote it. That would be a great thing to do. It lets us know which questions to prioritize. BigCommerce has been nice enough to give us some handouts talking about related to the topic they're going to be going over. You can download those at any time by just clicking on the download link under handouts. And finally, if you're watching this on a replay, you can see that there's a document icon at the bottom of the page there. That's where all of this information will reside. The handouts will be there, poll results will be there, as well as a copy of our slide deck. Now, without further ado, I want to welcome back Meghan Stabler. Going to have her, hey, Meghan, how are you doing?
I am good, Alan. Thank you very much for inviting us to this.
Fantabulous. Thanks for joining us. Going to turn it over to Meghan. She's the VP of Product Marketing and Communications at BigCommerce. Meghan, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Let's go to the next slide. We're gonna go through a few slides just to sort of set the state of what is actually happening in the industry today. We're not going to look back at what's going on right now because we want to give you some hints and tips and some ideas about what 2021 could be for you, right? It's too late to change what you've got today, right? We're already in that Christmas spirit. People are already buying things. So it's probably too late to make a lot of the changes that you could make to streamline things, improve, make sure you got auto conversions and everything else that you need to do. But I want to invite you to think about what 2021 could be and beyond. What is this next normal that we're in today going to change that probably as a merchant, as an innovator, as an entrepreneur, whether you're on the development side or even just on the marketing side, you could be thinking about. And if you don't know who BigCommerce are, We're one of the world's leading e-commerce platforms. Our mission is to help you at every stage of your growth. So what does that mean? Whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a small business, you're mid-market, you're enterprise, you're B2B, B2C, D2C, whatever it may be, we support you because we want to make sure that we're helping you craft, build, and create beautiful sites full of innovative features and functionality with enterprise-grade technology, functionality, and security pre-built in. We've got over 60,000 merchants around the world, from Skullcandy to Toyota to Woolrich and Berlin Packaging on the B2B side, all the way to some of my favorite things, and hopefully yours too, like ice cream from Ben & Jerry's. So we scale across the whole landscape and across the merchant base as well. So let's get into it right now. Let's start thinking about what is this sort of new phase, right? The empowered customer is going to be the one that drives the future of buying. It isn't us creating just a site and hoping that customers come to it, right? Consumers are no longer looking to trade off price and convenience and an emotional experience. You've got to cater for all of these things, right? So it is going to be a matter about making sure you're offering the right price, the right discount, the right combo of products and functionality and variants linked together. Convenience is everywhere, from the experience on your site and how they shop, all the way through to that promised nirvana of 2-day delivery or whatever it may be, and even beyond that into returns should they need to make that. It's going to be an emotional experience. You're going to have to capture me as the shopper where I am on my mobile device, on my tablet, if I'm out running or walking or at home or with my kid or wherever it is. If I see something through one of the channels, hopefully you're using things like Facebook Shops, Instagram checkout, you may be using some of the bigger marketplaces like Amazon, eBay, and others. You've got to capture me where I am, and you've got to make a loyal customer out of me, an ambassador for your product, right? And so B2C firms as well as B2B firms have all been impacted by what we've gone through with this pandemic. And they've had to reinvent themselves, probably more so in the B2B world, especially in the bricks world, where they're having to now be online, right? Because it's now emphasized the importance of adaptability, the idea of innovation, the idea of, if I need to capture this range of shoppers because of demographics or firmographics that are out there, if I want to capture a younger millennial set because they're more prone to be using Instagram or other things to shop, I need to be able to easily integrate that. And if my e-commerce platform doesn't help me do that, then I've really got to go back to the basics and think about whether or not re-platforming is right for me, right? And it's not big and wily and costly and hairy to go ahead and re-platform. But in the long run, re-platforming may be the right choice if you've been on a platform for a number of years and it's not a modern platform, not consistently innovating, not giving you the feature functionality and the channels that you need. Maybe it is time to go ahead and rethink, because it's up to you to think about the strategies, not only to survive today's crisis, but really to prepare for what's coming up in the future. One of the recent surveys that we did, and this is brand new information. You can see on the right-hand side, if you go into the handouts page of this webinar, you can see some of the slides that you can go ahead and download. But we did this with Retail Dive's Brand Studio 2020 survey, really to look at what people were doing in 2019 as far as investment. High was investing in internal operations, logistics, supply chain, third-party relationships, and inventory management. And then thinking about what's changed in this COVID world, right? So logistics and supply chain, because supply chain has failed at some point during the COVID lockdown. Supply chain is coming back, but they want to limit those risks going forward. Maybe it is no longer getting your supply chain from China. Maybe it is looking at backup countries or countries that are closer to home, or maybe from logistics. You're looking at 3PL, or you're looking at other places around the US if you're a merchant in the US, to go ahead and have your product to be able to ship in a good amount of time for that convenience that I mentioned before for your customers. So do take a look at the slides in the handout area. We also know that executives are beginning to look at the investments in 3 main areas. The website experience. The website itself obviously is critical. You know that. Any interruption of my personal shopping behavior or habits on your site means that I'm probably going to abandon that cart and maybe come back later on if you're integrating retargeting emails and doing some other things, Or maybe I'm forgetting. Maybe it was just a spur in the moment purchase because I saw something on TV, I heard something from a friend, or I saw a flash ad come through on Instagram or Facebook or something. And I get to your site and I forget about it. So your objective is to convert me as much as possible, but also to make it as personal as possible to me, the shopper. I want to know that in this new next normal that we're going to be going into, that I am your most favorite shopper, that I want to be part of your loyalty club, because with that loyalty club, I'm going to be getting discounts. We also know that 53% are going to be investing heavily in marketing and advertising. And we'll probably have a whole discussion around advertising costs and everything else later on when we get to the Q&A about this, but also 50% plus are going to be investing in that logistics and supply chain that we talked about before. But the website experience is key to this, right? Flexible and customizable technology is key. What do I mean by that? The ability to offer up SKUs and products and variants to me as an individual versus somebody else that is shopping on your site is key. So having a very dynamic look and feel, having a quality checkout, right? Reducing the friction when it comes to checkout, making sure I have all of the different payment options that are out there, and also the ability to select shipping that is convenient to me. I have not gone to a store and purchased anything physically since COVID lockdown. And in fact, my claim inside of BigCommerce, and I've been here at BigCommerce for about 2 years now, is that since joining BigCommerce, I have not gone to a physical store to buy anything. Everything I've done has been online. Why? Because I want to experience that shopper experience. I want to see where the friction is. I want to see how good some merchants are innovating their sites to make it smooth for me to purchase my goods. But also, I'll talk about this in a little bit about the long tail. I want to experience what the shipping is, how you respond to me when I have queries, how you're adapting to chatbots, what are you doing as far as social, what do I need to do if I have to physically return something? Do I go to a store? Can I use Amazon? Do I go to Kohl's and drop it off? What are my options on these things? But hyper-personalization is key in this next normal. It is getting to know me. So things like data, everything about me. If you're the merchant, you're probably collecting as much information as you can do on me. And analytics and being able to interrogate the data is going to be key for you to be able to personalize the experience for me. You have to know me, because by knowing me, you create an ambassador out of me if you get the entire experience correct. If you also know me and you get any part of that experience wrong, you create a detractor. So getting it right is key. Blending content and commerce too. We're seeing a lot of UGC that is out there with user-generated content, videos, how-tos. I don't know how many of you may use videos yourself, but I do when I have to change the light bulb in a car or something. I buy the light bulb, but I also need to figure out how to go ahead and change it. So looking at content is key. Looking at content of how you use something, or how that item, that piece of goods could look in my home is key. So I'll talk about some technology trends in a minute, but user-generated content, creating that world of tribal knowledge, users helping users, is going to be key if you're not already doing it. We're going to talk about advertising probably in some of the Q&A. So lean into some of the lower costs of advertising and retargeting that's out there. Look at new channels to meet the customers where we are. I talked about that. If you're not using Instagram checkout on the BigCommerce platform, please consider it. It is a great value to you. It also unlocks other channels, right? Whether it's Deliver and Wish and many other things for you. Over communicate with customers. I can't stress this enough. Tell me about your product. Tell me that it's going to be delivered. Tell me it's on its way. Tell me it's been delivered. And give me some examples as to how to return it if there's a problem. Generate user-generated content along with it on how to use it. This long tail is so key. We can get everything right in the funnel, from acquiring the customer, getting them into your site, finding the purchasing of goods, ordering them, checkout, sending, supplying, shipping. We can get all of that right. And then we could fail on the returns and give a bad user experience. And where will we most often go to complain? It's either going to be on the phone, it's going to be via social media, but ultimately it's going to be to our friends and neighbors about an experience. So over communicate as much as you can. Even if you don't have something in stock, and this is one thing that one of the BigCommerce customers we have, Solo Stove, did amazingly well. They basically have fire pits and outdoor camping stuff, and it was great. They said, we're going to have this, but because of supply chain issues, it's not going to be available until this date, but buy now. And we'll inform you when it's going to be shipped. Not only did they inform you when it was going to be shipped, they had a date, and they gave you those goods before those dates. So what did it end up doing? I ended up getting my solo stove earlier than I was expecting. I got the excitement from that. And I want to give you this vision. How many of you remember a birthday, a holiday, or Christmas where you unwrap the gift and it's that gift that you want and you're stoked about it, you're excited about it, but the one thing that's missing are the batteries to go with it. And your parents didn't have them, so you have to wait till the next day or the next day to be actually able to play with it. So make sure that you're over communicating everything through there so you don't let your shoppers or your consumers down on anything that they have. Stress test your fulfillment experience as much as possible. Look at your competitors, see what they're doing. Take advantage of an agile approach to inventory management. If you can keep innovating and changing on the fly, do it, but ultimately have contingency plans in place, including communication plans in place. If you're going to be unable to meet a delivery, set the expectation. Right? Don't overpromise and underdeliver. Set the expectation and get it right. Communicate with customers as much as possible. You know, where are people going to be innovating going forward, or at least investing their time? 46% of the respondents in the surveys that you have access to said omni-channel selling. We want to sell everywhere. Yes, we may sell through Amazon, but we want to make sure that we're touching the shoppers wherever they may be. We want to invest in customer service, returns, chatbots, etc. Inventory management, right? We want to make sure that we don't have shortages, but we can also close that gap between how long it takes to deliver a product to somebody, as well as employee engagement and making sure everybody is successful and happy in the company. I'm also going to say now is a great time to evaluate your e-commerce platform. The old days of spending months and months of re-platforming from one platform, one e-commerce platform to another are gone. Look at ways that you can basically innovate, keep your site brand look and feel, but deliver some new innovative technology today. So is your technology today reliable? Have you been down? Has there been outages on your platform? Do you need to go ahead and lower your total cost of ownership overall? Do you want to modernize and innovate? Is your platform actually built for growth and scalable across all channels? I'm hoping in my heart that in this COVID era and post-COVID, you're growing, right? We know at least 60% plus of merchants have grown significantly because of this pandemic, and I hope that you're one of them. We want you as BigCommerce to continue to grow on a platform where you're not going to have to migrate from, but scales and grows with you, as well as takes care of the security. We also know that security is important, not just to you, but also to your shoppers and their credit card information, their PCI compliance, etc. So we take all of these things very seriously. The other thing I want you to think about is, what is the tech that you should be thinking about, or at least considering today, right? Great site navigation, product detail pages help convert shoppers. How often are you as a merchant looking at your competition? The competitive sites in retail that you come up against or you bump up against every now and again. Make sure that you're looking at them, that whole long tail, from getting into the funnel, the social, the SEO that they're doing, all the way through to the product pages, the variants, everything else, all the way through to selection, how they're treating you as a customer, the checkout, the fulfillment, and the shipping on that. So make sure that you're looking at this. Be familiar with the checkout features that are there. Investments in areas like customer service are critical. Because we're in this remote world, it's not as easy to return things to physical stores. So chatbots are an amazing way to do it. Your social, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, is somewhere where I would encourage you to invest. And then finally, consider new technology for innovation and conversion. I am really on for augmented reality and 3D right now. I think that's going to be the banner wave of the future. We used to say that, e-commerce has got a slated growth and it's going to be growing up by, every few years. It's been accelerated because of COVID. And I remember a few years ago when we talked about augmented reality and 3D, hey, it's a fad, it's going to go away. How many of you remember Google Glass, right? From a long while ago. There were people walking around with those glasses and eventually it came out of fad and people were like, that's ridiculous. Well, now there's the ability, whether it's to try makeup and see what that looks like on you, or to Home Depot shop, or to go to somewhere and actually find a physical good in a virtual world and place it in your kitchen, place it in your family room. Good verticals are doing this. Home, fashion, lifestyle brands, and even furniture brands are doing this today. So I really think it's key. If you can integrate some things, we have some great partners here at BigCommerce that do 3D augmented reality really, really well that could set you up for the future. You know, it's kind of like that FOMO, fear of missing out, but it's also the thing of, hey, it's something that's catching on that everybody needs. You know, how many of you remember the Cabbage Patch dolls that everybody had to have, right? Or, hey, the latest version of iPhone is about to come out, iPhone 12. How many of you got the 12, or how many of you are waiting for the Pro Max, right? And you probably want to be one of the first ones to have it. You're going to generate more revenue if you embed some of these technologies. As I mentioned before, hyper-personalize everything. Chatbots, look at data. That's going to be key, what's somebody doing on your site. And if possible, look at AI and machine learning as well to help your platform grow as much as possible. So hopefully I gave you a flavor of some of the things that I think about in product marketing. I'm also a strategist. I like to think about the future, and I hope that you look at the future as an awesome way to go ahead and grow your merchant base. Thank you. Back to you, Alan.
Brilliant, Megan. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you to turn off your camera while we go to the polls, and certainly appreciate you covering that with us. And by the way, just a reminder, I want to make certain that all of you are reminded, or people have just joined our call, that you can ask questions at any time using the Q&A functionality. Make certain you do that. And right now we want to turn to the audience. We want to give you guys a chance to kind of take your temperature, see what you're thinking here. And so let's move on to the polls. Now remember, for the people that are watching this on the recording, you can, or the people that are watching it live, you can see it on your right-hand side of your screen. You can see that when the polls close, you can get the information about how the polls were answered. And again, if you're watching this on the recording, you can see the handout icon there. All the answers and results from the polls will be there. So let us open the polls. Question 1. In which one of the following areas is your company planning to increase investment in 2021? And you can choose the top 3. We kind of have some broad categories here. We have customer experience, we have marketing technology, fulfillment and logistics, advertising, omnichannel and store technology. We're not increasing investments in 2021, or other. Yeah, it's pretty much as we expect. Now, we asked this question last week, and we're seeing similar, but not exactly the same. Customer experience tops the list. We're seeing about 32% of the folks there. 19% of you are thinking marketing technology, another 19% are advertising, and in 4th place is fulfillment and logistics improvements. All right, I'm going to close that poll and move on to the next one. So I want to dig in a bit more into the customer service or customer experience investments for 2021. Now, I'm going to open this poll up. For those companies that are increasing their customer experience investments in 2021, in which of the following areas are you focusing on? Is it site search and navigation? Is it product information, improving that? Is it going for more user-generated content, payment, or improving your gifting options, or return processes and logistics? Or is it other? If it's other, and it's something that's really just not like on here, you want to talk about it a bit, or you want to just let us know, just put it into the Q&A, and we'll see it there. All right. Let's see the numbers coming in. Interesting. Yeah, I kind of expected this too. Site search and navigation is just like this constant beast that needs to be improved all the time. Over a third of you are there. And then there's a really close breakout between return process and logistics, product information, and payment and gifting options. User-generated content is only 10%. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, yeah, very good. So I'm going to close the poll. Site search and navigation, a full third. Coming in second, return processes and logistics with 22%. Very good, very good. Finally, let me get back to the queue here. Question number 3. Now, this deals with next week's webinar. And remember, that's on Thursday. Scott's going to be leading that one. We're kind of interested in knowing how you guys are going to invest in content marketing in 2021. And so we've given you 5 options there. You can choose one. You can have a significantly higher investment, slightly higher investment, same investment, slightly lower, or significantly lower investment. Be interesting to see where everyone is investing in content marketing in 2021. All right, let's see where this is breaking out. So slightly higher investment is about 40-ish%. Same investments, 36. We're definitely seeing significantly higher is another 26%. Almost nobody going slightly lower. Only 3% are slightly or significantly lower. So definitely content marketing is on your radar. Very good. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm going to close that poll. And now I'm going to welcome all of our speakers back. If David, Rebecca, Megan, and Bill, if you'll turn your cameras on and your microphones. Hey there. Get rid of the slides. There we are. All right. I'm just waiting for Rebecca and Megan. Megan's back.
I'm here.
All right. All right. Well, while we wait for Rebecca to come back in, I'm going to start with Dave and Bill introducing themselves. If you guys would just introduce yourselves, give us a little bit of a background on your company so we kind of know what your perspective is. Dave, I'll have you start, then Bill.
Terrific. Thanks, Alan. I'm Dave Bolotsky, founder and CEO of Uncommon Goods. Started the company back in 1999. We're a Brooklyn-based retailer of independent and creative design, much of it gift product, and made in the U.S.
Outstanding. Bill, you're up next.
Yeah, I'm Bill Bass. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for FULLBEAUTY Brands. We're a collection of now 10 brands focused on plus-sized women and large, big and tall men.
Outstanding. Rebecca, welcome. We're just introducing ourselves. If you'd introduce yourself and what your company does.
Hey guys, I'm Rebecca Traverzo. I'm the VP of Marketing at ThirdLove. We are a women's intimates brand focused on bras and underwear. We are founded by women for women, all about fit, comfort, and looking confident.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. All right, so let's get started here. I want to begin with kind of a macro look before we start diving into some of the specific questions and details here. First off, let's start it by examining recent e-commerce trends that you guys think have some staying power. And Bill, I kind of want to start with you. When we were talking on the prep call, you were mentioning about what happens post-COVID. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so we're a direct-to-consumer company, the catalog and internet. We don't have retail stores. And since COVID came along, companies like ours have had a huge tailwind as the stores shut down. A lot of consumer buying behavior shifted online. And the big question everybody has is, how long does that last? Like once COVID's over, does it all go back to the way it was before, or do these tailwinds continue? And everything that we've seen, including research that we've done with our own customers, says that this is a permanent shift. That the shift towards shopping online has accelerated and will stay at that level. And so for us, as we look into the future now, how then do you deal with all of these new customers coming on board? It looks like they're going to continue coming on board. What we found with these customers, one of the other fears was that they would be of less value than the customers we've had in the past, kind of be like a sugar high. It would kind of go away. And we found that these customers perform almost identically to the customers that we had pre-COVID. So these are good customers coming in, and there's a lot more of them coming.
Mm-hmm. Dave, I'd like you to follow up on that because again, during our call, you had some interesting comments, and I want to give you the opportunity to respond and accentuate that.
Sure. Yeah, I largely agree with Bill. As a direct marketer, we have both e-commerce and catalog. What we find historically is a new customer is the most productive customer that we get. After their first purchase, they're much more likely to buy. And so I think there will be a tailwind in 2021 from all those new customers. I do think it will dissipate in categories where experiences away from the home become a possibility. So people have been gardening, baking, doing puzzles. I think some of that activity is going to diminish in 2021. So we expect some slowdown if hopefully and thankfully this pandemic is largely behind us at some point next year.
It would be nice. Megan, I see you nodding there.
Yeah, I mean, think about it, right? The fashion industry got hit in the beginning of COVID, right? And so, I measured COVID hitting around about the middle of March timeframe, and that's really when fashion and apparel dropped down. and sporting goods took off, right? And home goods took off, and gardening goods took off, right? And a bunch of other things. And then you saw this change in sort of health, beauty type stuff went in a wave type of form, because hair, makeup, product is bought on a cycle, right? You're not going to be buying makeup always consistently then. And then we started to see fashion pop back, and not just pop back, but accelerate it, right? Because people, even though they were at home, wanted new threads, right? They wanted things for their kids. They wanted to look good on these types of calls, right? We're all wearing pants, I hope, and stuff like that, but they wanted to feel good and look good. But this convenience that we've talked about beforehand, I'm glad you checked down on that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it's just fun. But, this convenience that we talked about, and I talked about at the beginning, is going to continue because people are used to it, right? I hate to say it this way, but consumers and shoppers are pretty fickle. Once I get used to that muscle memory of shopping online and expecting something, unless it's majorly urgent, hey, it's a convenience. I like it. I like the fact that I can shop. I don't have to go into a store necessarily. I do think we're going to get a bump back into stores. I do think there are people that miss the browsing and shopping on impulse. But, companies like ThirdLove, which I am a customer of, so thank you, right? It just makes it great because it's a great experience at the end of the day, too, to go shop for the size, get the size, it fits. And then you create a repeat customer out of me because it is a convenience, and you are communicating with me consistently through email and other forms as well. So I think it's going to continue.
Rebecca, let's take it to you here for the last of the kind of the overall strategy. What do you think are the trends? And that was a great lead-in from Meghan.
Yeah, thank you for that, Meghan. I'm so happy to hear you're a customer. We'll talk after. But yeah, I think for us, I think it's twofold, right? It's looking at consumption behavior that is increasing across various tactics and channels like streaming services. So CTV and OTT, also podcasts, downloads are increasing. So making sure that we are visible wherever she is and where she's spending most of her time. I don't think any of those consumption habits will change in 2021. They'll likely increase even more so because that habit has now been created since COVID. And I think another thing, tapping into what Meghan said in regards to consumer habits as it relates to products, and this big thing around like loungewear now that we're all working from home and focused on comfort. And how do we as a brand at ThirdLove expand into those categories to appeal to more customers across their entire, daily activities?
That's interesting. So I want to take a look. One of the things that we saw, so we asked the question, the first question in the polls today was actually the question we asked the same question last week of a different audience, retail audience. And the same things keep coming up. It's customer experience, marketing technology, advertising, and fulfillment logistics. Last week's audience said it, this week's audience says it. I just read this really nice Forrester research report. They're saying it. Meghan, you said it. Like, it's just where the investments are going. And I wanted to ask each of you in turn, where do you think those investments, where are you making those investments? And what are your thoughts about that? Bill, I'm going to go back to you on this one, because I thought you had a very nice kind of overarching thing about this, kind of the macro view to look at this.
The macro view. When Alan brought this up, he was talking about Forrester had come out with this new report, and I used to work at Forrester 25 years ago, and I wrote that report back then. They said, it's all about taking care of the customer. It's not just about the website experience. It's about all the way till when the customer gets their product, and if they make it easy for them to return it if they need to return it. This is not there's no finish line for this. Companies continually have to get better at it, and as new technology comes along, you have to adopt the new technology and figure out how that's gonna work. When we got started with this 25 years ago, nobody was even thinking about 2-day shipping or next day shipping or anything like that. And not everybody can do 2-day shipping. You can't economically do it. So then you got to figure out where you're going to play in this space, as everybody's trying to figure out how do you take care of your customers in a way that allows you to make a profit. There's no right answer to that. You got to figure out the right answer for your company, but that can be very different for another company.
Absolutely. Rebecca, you had mentioned how you'd figured out that and what ratio you were using when it comes to both pre and post purchase emphasis. What were your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, acquiring new customers is critically important for the short-term and long-term benefit and growth of your business. But retaining those customers and increasing repeat rate is equally as important for us. I mean, if I had to put it to a percentage, it's about 50-50 of where our revenue comes from. So just making sure that, we are tapping into a full funnel integrated marketing approach, capturing people and attracting them at the top of the funnel and leading them through our brand journey to the bottom of the funnel, but then, reversing that loop in order to drive them to increase repeat rate.
Perfect.
But I think all those factors that you talked about, marketing, technology, customer service, I think all those things in some aspects are all levers that need to be pulled in 2021 in order to deliver short-term and long-term success. I think for us, we're double downing on, from a customer service experience, like how do we connect one-to-one with our customers in more ways, like things like SMS or social messaging, to increase that, connection with our customers, whether it be on their orders or just getting the sense of what they feel about the product, in order for us to deliver a better product for them across multiple categories.
Perfect. Dave, you had a rather interesting question that you ask your employees that's related to this. Do you want to dive into that?
Sure. So I meet with all our new hires, and one of the questions during the holiday season that I ask is, what's the ultimate moment of truth shopping online? And the traditional answer is when I give up my credit card number and click buy. And my response is, au contraire, it's if and when your package arrives and what's in it is in fact what you ordered. And so we put a lot of time and energy into trying to create the perfect customer experience. I will tell you, it's been a lot worse for customers online across the board, across the entire industry. Amazon's gotten the most attention for delays in ship times, but we've all been struggling with that this year. And so that's something we're looking at in 2021. What investments do we need to make to get product to our customers more quickly? And we don't believe in trying to out Amazon. I think that's a losing battle. But where we can neutralize some of their advantages, we're certainly working to do so. So we introduced 2 years ago a subscription membership program similar to Amazon Prime, much more affordable, roughly $15 a year. You get free shipping. And we've seen a very strong uptake on that, and a significant portion of our revenue is now coming from those customers.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm glad you kind of segued, because I wanted to move from kind of the strategies now kind of more to the tactical aspects of it. And I want to dig into one of the questions here. And Megan, this might be for you. This is a question from our audience. Sunitha was asking, can you name a few retailers where there's less friction during checkout? And all of you can answer. Like if you've got a retailer that just seems to get it right, and then you can exempt yourselves from this, right? So we have an objective view here. But Megan, do you have a couple of quick examples of where you think there's a really good frictionless checkout?
Well, I will. I hate to say it this way, but Amazon, one touch. I mean, that is the simplest checkout that you could get, right? So you could go with the Amazon one, but I think there are others I've already mentioned, like Solo Stove.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the simpleness of that checkout. And during the pre-call that we had, I mentioned one of my bugbears, right, which is entering my zip code and then having to enter my state or my city, right? It should be streamlining this. So, my only answer really is going to be this. Look, if you have a checkout, which I'm sure everybody does, because you're a merchant and that's why you're here, go look at your competition. Go look at your competitors' checkout. Buy something from their store and look at that entire process. And then in the tech world, right, do an agile approach, a retrospective, right? Compare it against your entire process and see where you could streamline and improve it. That's the ultimate thing that you should be consistently doing, right? We all do A/B testing on our messages and stuff. We'll start doing the ABC testing on all competitors.
Brilliant. Bill, Dave, Rebecca, any thoughts on a recent your own purchase experience that you have? Because, yep, that's a great example.
Yeah, I mean, you can argue with Amazon, right? That would be my number one. I mean, it's just so seamless, and they don't really, they're not intrusive in trying to upsell you and cross-sell you and deep sell you into other categories of products. I think it's just quick and easy. You search for what you want, one click away, 2-day ship. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yep.
We added Apple Pay to our website over the past year, and as a shopper, I love it. You know, obviously in the real world, it in some ways has more benefits, but it's certainly we've seen pretty good uptake from customers, and it's convenient.
That's an interesting one because you know, over the years you had Google try and set up a wallet, you had Amazon try and set up a wallet. Other than PayPal, we have never found anybody that it ever got the traction. Enough people were using it that it kind of made sense. Although Apple Pay, we haven't played with Apple Pay yet. I personally use Apple Pay on stuff, especially when I'm in stores now. Not that I'm in stores now, but and so that's an interesting one. We need to take a look at that. One of the things that I found interesting, I don't end up having so many experiences where I go, wow, this is really good. Mm-hmm. I'll have ones where I go, this is crazy. Why are they making us do that, right? And one of the things that just still drives me crazy, you know, because we've been selling online for decades now, is every credit card on your expiration date, it always says like, you know, 11/24. And then when you pull it up and it says your expiration date, they'll have January, February, March, you know, and then you got to do the math in your head. And I've always found that to just be crazy why people haven't figured that out yet.
Oh yeah, no, I love when you're putting a credit card in and it asks you for all the digits and then asks you if it's a Visa, MasterCard, or American Express, you know, or you put your zip code in and what city are you? Really?
Or you forget your CVV number and it wipes out everything. You have to re-enter everything one way.
Feel the love. All right. So we're getting some really good questions out of the audience. Now, I absolutely want to hit some of them here. Leslie Gerard has asked, how are chatbots helping with the personal experience? Is the future of chatbots important because of the convenience? That's a toss-up. Anyone can jump in on that one.
Well, I mentioned chatbots before. I'd love to hear Bill and David and others talk about it. But I think so, yeah. I mean, it is about convenience, right? It is about adding sort of some learning behind the scenes for a chatbot to get you to some stage. Now, I'll tell you the goods and the bads of chatbots. Chatbots with Drift and other technologies can be absolutely great. If you want to see bad chatbots, go to your local regional automotive supplier, you know, your Ford, your GMC, or whomever, and be bombarded with, "Hi, I'm Amanda. Are you looking for a car?" I wouldn't be here if I wasn't looking for a car, would I? Right? But those are the annoying ones where it pops up on every page. The good chatbots are where you're getting machine learning. They're understanding the data and the responses. And you're getting really humanistic behind the scenes. But also, if you tie it into knowledge as to who the shopper is. Hey, Megan, welcome back. Last week you bought this thing. Is everything okay with it? And you also see that Amazon do a little bit of that with their customer service, right? Are you contacting customer service because of a bad experience with, is it this product or is it this product? So I think chatbots can certainly reduce cost, can reduce friction, can cause friction if you don't get it right. But I do think it's something that people could start looking at.
Yeah, I'd echo Megan's comments. It has the potential to be a double-edged sword. We've implemented it for our customer service, and we've seen it reduce the number of contacts for some of the simplest answers. But yes, there is the risk of doing it wrong. Well, you know, prior to starting Uncommon Goods, I was a research analyst in the terrestrial or store-based world. And one of the insights I had back then was the best form of customer service in many shoppers' minds is self-service. If you don't have to call somebody over, you don't need to get their help, people view that as the best experience. And so a chatbot is somewhat in between looking something up in an FAQ and having to reach out and get that agent's help. So I think it's it's definitely the wave of the future, and we're excited to be working on it.
All right. So one of the things I like to do is I like to have the speakers think of questions to ask other speakers. And Rebecca, this is going to come to you. Rebecca wants to know from the other speakers, as we think about 2021, will your business and marketing strategy shift from post-COVID performance and profitability back to brand building? And Rebecca, I'd like you to kind of explain that. And then Dave and Billy, you're on the hot seat.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like most brands, right, when COVID hit, we kind of pivoted our marketing strategies, which were initially kind of, developing full funnel integrated marketing approach to obviously attract mass consumers while also, driving them through our brand journey. But for us at ThirdLove, competition is increasing and the sameness continues. We built this brand for women, diverse women, and inclusivity of, shapes, sizes, ethnicities. But right now that's table stakes in our category. So breaking through the clutter to differentiate our brand and appeal to the masses is critical to our long-term success. But it's a delicate balance, right? To ensure you're maintaining your marketing efficiencies while focusing on a full funnel integrated marketing strategy. I think for us, ensuring that we have the proper measurement tools and capabilities in place, the right KPIs for both short-term and long-term growth, ensuring that we have frictionless commerce. We've talked about it a lot today. Having creativity and relevant content and channel best practices is really key to balancing our approach. So just would love to hear from the rest of the brands and businesses on kind of how they're approaching 2021.
Dave, I'll let you start.
Sure. So, we are very concerned about what happens post COVID benefit. We do think there'll be some tailwind from all the new customers acquired, but prior to COVID, we were really struggling with the Facebook, Google duopoly and the ever increasing cost to acquire and retain customers. So we're hard at work and really need to invest more in 2021 on identifying new ways to reach the customer, whether it's through TV, podcasts, radio. We've done some testing, but we need to do a lot more. That's a key priority for us.
Dave, you touched on something I'm going to come back to, but I want to give Bill a chance to answer Rebecca's question, and then I'm going to come right back to you because it dovetails beautifully with an audience question.
Yeah, I have a bias towards, I'm a direct marketer. And so whenever people start talking about brand advertising, I get the heebie-jeebies a little bit because I just see that as a giant black hole that ad agencies want you to pour money into, and it's difficult to potentially tie it back to actual sales. So, when we look at stuff like what David does, we do a lot of customer acquisition, and when you're trying to expand the number of ponds that you can fish in. So we have a direct response television test that we're going to kick off now that the election is, I guess the election part's over. We don't know how it's gone yet. There's now the television advertising space that we can get on. So we're testing a lot of other ways to reach out to new customers, but we classify that as customer acquisition. We're not trying to get our customers to feel differently about our brand or get excited about our brand. We're just trying to let customers who might not know about us know who we are and what we offer. And so I make a little bit of a distinction there, and it might be a meaningless distinction, to be fair, between brand advertising and direct marketing. We're really focused on the direct marketing portion.
Can I just add something, Alan? I know you want to go back to David, but let's not forget influencer as well. So I think something for 2021, depending on your brand type, would be around influencer marketing and enablement as well.
Has that? So let me push on that a little bit because I have never found, back to the ROI thing. It's always sounded kind of interesting because word of mouth is huge. I mean, I remember David Bolotsky, his company, my daughter coming to me and saying, "Oh, I found this new company. It's really cool. It's called Uncommon Goods." I was like, I actually know the guy who founded that company. "Oh, how'd you hear about it?" She goes, "Oh, I had a friend of mine tell me about it." Right. So so word of mouth marketing is huge and carries a validity to it that's pretty impressive. I haven't been able to tie that back though to the whole kind of influencer stuff that's going on.
I'm sure Rebecca, we're sort of taking away the question here for you, Alan, but I'm sure Rebecca has some things.
No, go for it.
Well, so my daughter says she's an influencer, so I'll put it that way, right? But what is, I don't get it too. It's an age differentiation, and I don't get it. But she uses Instagram, right? So she gets some brand products sent to her from, I'm going to pick on ThirdLove, but it isn't ThirdLove. But she gets products sent to her. She creates the stories around it and then shares them with her followers that then echo it to other followers. So it's sort of an Amway model of followers on Instagram. And she may put up a discount code there or something. But because of now the integration, like, BigCommerce is integrated directly and seamlessly with things like Instagram checkout, when you're on it and you're searching for it, it literally is a flip up to go buy or to go purchase, and also keep it within inside of Instagram. You can certainly go to the third-party site, or you can keep it inside of that. And she's making money off this thing. And the only way she makes money is if the brand makes money and sees value too. So it is a weird science. And Rebecca, if you have some focus on how this works, I would love to know too.
Yeah, I think it's exactly, it starts off exactly how you mentioned, Megan, obviously using it and conceptually in the platforms that it makes the most sense, like Instagram. But another way that we've been leveraging influencer content, and we've seen great success with it, is taking that content and also distributing it in other areas. So putting paid support behind it, creating Facebook and Instagram ads, even display ads around this influencer content. Pinterest, huge for us. So it's not just taking that singular piece of content where an influencer is obviously attracting their following base, but also taking that and reaching the masses with it. And it's just another way to validate your brand ethos and your product benefits in a way that's very compelling. And it's a seamless way to build a brand ambassador program across the board. So I'm a huge fan of influencer marketing. I think that the connection between content and commerce is going to be so critical in 2021, just to balance out your marketing approach, because brand content can only do so much, especially in this world of influencers.
Dave, I don't know if you're leaning forward to jump on that question, or if you're just more comfortable in your chair. It's easy to do this on a stage sometimes. You get those just easier to read body language. So it's interesting. We've had a weird couple of days here, and I'm not going to get into the politics. It's been a wild week. Have you guys been noticing any changes in your sales over the past week or past couple of days? Dave, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so first of all, Alan, I know you served as a poll worker in a battleground state, Pennsylvania. So as a fellow citizen, I want to thank you for doing that.
You are welcome. That was 16 and a half hours straight of entertainment.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say we have probably a greater than average politically engaged customer. Mm-hmm. And we've actually we have been seeing very strong sales growth. And then yesterday, during the day into the evening, our business slowed. And today it's actually been pretty soft. So people are, and that's a break from the past 5-6 months. So I don't know if anybody else is seeing that, but it's our customer at least appears to be distracted for good reason.
Yeah. Bill, is your customer distracted? Are you distracted?
So I didn't look at yesterday's numbers, but it's always interesting because we mail a lot of catalogs, mail a couple 100 million catalogs a year. And so every time an election comes around, there's always this, should we mail? Should you wait until after the election to mail? There's always this thing, and everybody goes back to looks at the numbers. We didn't see any change in how things were going. Now, again, you got COVID in here too. I mean, there's just a lot of noise to try and pick out the signal from. And I didn't go look at yesterday. But
you don't check sales every hour, Bill?
Yeah, Bill. What's happening, man? You're supposed to be on 24/7.
I didn't grow up in retail. I'm a transplant in, so I still don't have that.
You probably have lower blood pressure than I do.
Rebecca, how about you? Has it impacted you in any way?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing traffic numbers decrease over the last week or so, and also CPMs and CPAs starting to increase, obviously, with the last push of political investment for both candidates across specifically like social channels and stuff like that. So we've been impacted by that. So we're tied to a very efficient CPA. So we haven't been able to scale as much as we were able to several weeks ago, just because, again, people are very much distracted and not in the mindset to buy bras and underwear.
Yeah, it's very distracting. We have a couple of minutes left, and there's a couple of quick questions, so we're going to kind of do a speed round here. Glenn Edelman, one of our long-term CommerceNext friends. Glenn, glad to see you here. Thanks for joining us today. He's asking, what techniques are you using to increase repeat rate? That's a toss-up. First one who answers goes.
Email, and just making sure that we have the right email strategy and segmentation in place, and expansion into other categories of business. To just bring them, obviously, bras, the purchase cycle for bras is anywhere between 12 to 18 months, right? So not a great time frame to continue to drive the business forward. So increasing repeat rate across other categories like underwear, which has a shorter purchase cycle, and then some of our loungewear that we're expanding in 2021, categories of business like that. But I think email is critically important on retention and
All right, Dave?
Yes, so I mentioned earlier a free shipping subscription program that's helped repeat buy rate. And then similar to Rebecca, email is key for us. We started about a year ago giving a $5 credit if you sign up for our email program, and saw a big uptick in that, and email program has been pretty strong.
And Bill?
Yeah, I don't have much insight to add to this one.
We'll just pass. You can just say, Alan, I pass. It's cool.
Alan, I pass. However, I did, because I had phoned a friend. It's like, hey, how'd our sales go yesterday? Did the election affect us? And the answer I got back was, we actually did quite well. So we didn't see an impact yesterday. Oh yeah, we did really well. They just gave me the number. Yeah, yesterday was a good day.
All right, going to have one last question here. Actually, one comment and then one final question. Alana wanted to make a comment to you, Dave. She commented, or he said, last night at midnight, any campaign with political tags were shut off for those brands acquiring on Facebook. Kind of an FYI. Any comment on that? Or you can pass as well and just retain that information?
I'm not sure I understand. So
the comment is, last night at midnight, any campaign with political tags were shut off for those brands acquiring on Facebook. I think that there's just been this shift, like it's to your point, that it's just things are changing so quickly, and there's been just a seismic shift.
Right. Yeah. So presumably, if they were all shut off, to Rebecca's point, that might create additional inventory. Mm-hmm. One might think, but yeah, I don't know if I have a point of view if that's getting at a question of free speech. I think that's a whole nother frontier that I feel qualified to comment on. But from a business perspective, I'm not clear on how big an impact that should have.
All right, just wanted to bring it up. People are commenting. Want to give them the chance to make their comments known to the panel. And finally, we've got a question from Tony Pinchner. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He has asked, for the retailers, have you asked your customers if they use AR or VR, and where is this on your product roadmaps if you are? Rebecca, we'll start with you.
It's not on our product roadmap right now. It could be something that we look at long term, but I think for us, it's really getting back to the basics and focusing on what works, and expanding that across the board. But yeah, AR and VR right now for bras and underwear, not so much.
Probably not so much. Dave?
It's something we've considered, and the investment thus far seems too high, we're looking at potential partners on the AR front.
Yeah.
All right. And Bill, anything on your side on this?
Yeah, it's always been an interesting one for me because there's been some great uses of AR, particularly like where you put the first yard line on football fields. I mean,
Yeah.
so there's actually really great use cases of AR. None of them have really taken off in retail, and so we try to be we like to be followers on trends like let somebody else figure out. And this has been going on for 20 years, right? They've had here's the mirror, and we'll stand in front of the mirror and they'll try sunglasses on you and things like that. And everybody goes and we look at those stores, but they kind of never, it's always
quite
intellectually titillating, but not, you can't see it really impact the bottom line yet.
Let me, because I brought up the subject of AR, VR. Let me say that technology is advanced. It can be a couple of clicks away. The cost to implement is not that high as it used to be. In fact, it's not that high. It's a matter about images and taking images, right? It's an augmented reality. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to have the big glasses, right, and walk around with these things. It's literally on your phone, and we got a bunch of customers that are using it in the fashion industry, in the furniture industry, and especially in the sort of B2B, something where you want to see how it works, how it's put together. You want to fly in as opposed to just seeing how will it look. This KitchenAid device that sits on the kitchen counter, do I want it in red or green or yellow or mustard or all the colors that they make it, right? So it's come a long way. And if you haven't looked at it, I know, Bill, you talked about Forrester. Forrester's done a ton of research and commentary on this, that the AR has changed. And in fact, CIOs that were skeptical 2 years ago are now saying we're going to double down because we think this could be a game changer for that experience that I mentioned at the very beginning. That, I love to quote Steve Jobs sometimes, and his comment was, start with the customer experience, not the technology stack. It's the customer experience that drives the other thing. And I think now we're getting to this stage where customer experience and expectation, especially of millennials, is for this newer base technology. And that's why you're also seeing LiDAR come out on the Apple phone 12, right? Because they're going to be moving those. I'm going to use your football analogy there. They're going to be moving those goalposts a little bit for you to put the football down on, because that's what this iPhone 12 is going to be good for. 3D augmented reality.
And as a proud iPhone 6 user, I can't wait to get an upgrade.
That is twice as good. The 12 will be twice as good.
It's at least twice the cost. So, all right, gang, we're going to wrap it up there. I want to thank our speakers, Dave, Bill, Rebecca, Megan. Thank you guys so much for coming on board with us today. I want to thank BigCommerce especially for sponsoring today's webinar. Don't forget, everyone, you can download our slides. You can download some white papers they've included. Please feel free to do so. Finally, I want to thank our audience for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate your continued interest and support. I'm Alan Dick, and on behalf of my fellow co-founders, Scott Silverman and Veronica Santsev, I want to wish you all the best for a healthy and prosperous November. And stay safe, and we will see you all next week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.